you.
Good afternoon, and to some, it's still good morning. It's my honor to introduce Mr. Kevin Thompson, who's a senior member of IEEE and a former CEO and engineering executive with experience leading complex organizations across the Caribbean and in multinational sectors. Kevin is currently serving as the section chair of IEEE Trinidad and Tobago and is a graduate of the IEEE Volunteer Leadership Training Program called VOLT. He holds an MBA, degrees in engineering and law, and a Master's of Science from the University of Oxford. Kevin is dedicated to helping young professionals master the intersection of technical excellence and strategic leadership, and is here today to share some insights into how to excel in your first professional role. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you, George. Thank you for your kind words. So, as George said, I'm here to help young professionals move forward in their roles, and the topic is about how to excel in that first professional role. So I've been privileged to be ranked as a high performer, and I've been humbled to been a global high potential for a multinational, and I'm excited about this opportunity to share some of those experiences with you today. So what I would like to do is just give you some practical advice. This is not school time. This is practical advice about shaping your career, changing your mindset, transitioning from student to professional, building credibility, and communicating with discipline. And ultimately, I want to leave you with a call to action to do the work, to move from graduate to professional. So your career isn't something that happens to you. It's something that you craft. And every choice, every challenge, every opportunity is a chance to shape the professional that you're becoming. Own that power and use it deliberately. And as an engineer, I hope that you wouldn't start working on a job without understanding the technical requirements and the ultimate goal. The same is true for your career. Set a plan. Just like you would be doing in your, you would have done in your university career, and you would be doing in your work life, work with a plan, work with a career plan. Your degree was a project. Now that project is complete. And what you do with your career needs to be deliberate, because it's going to help you shape the choices that you make in terms of the teams that you work with and the areas that are interesting to you. And I'm recommending that at least once a year, you review your plan, update it with new information, and be deliberate about your progress. In so doing, you're going to create value for yourself and for your organization. In your role, it's now moving from not about what you did, it's about the impact that you created. And if those who evaluate your performance are not aware of it, whose responsibility is that? So that's not a call to be in your boss's office every 5 minutes. But that is a reminder to communicate deliberately about the value that you bring to the team. That's about bringing that alignment with what your boss expects and what the organization is expecting from you with what you are actually doing on a day-to-day basis. You have to be an advocate. You have to be able to negotiate time, resources, and compensation. These are crucial skills. You're going to require these skills both inside and outside of your organization, as well as in your personal and professional life. Take the time to understand advocacy and negotiation. You're going to need it. You're going to need to persevere. You've been able to get those courses done in the semester, so you can do it. But unlike at university, where the demands were basically to finish the courses that you've been set, there are going to be a lot of other things happening at the same time. There's going to be some personal interactions with the people that you work with. There's going to be some familial interactions. There's going to be some development that you're thinking about. And all of that will be happening at the same time that you want to show yourself to be the professional at work. With those competing demands, you need time management skills. Make sure you have those. And never stop learning. Educate yourself, not just about degrees, not just about what is technical. The truth is, a company can't develop if its people don't develop. And you have built technical skills and you're going to build on them further. And you should build on the softer skills. And my strong advice to you is to develop them long before you need them. So coming out of university, there's a reality gap. This is a new world. And for most of your life, as most graduates go straight through school before they begin working, there's this notion of the university logic or the school logic. And it's really about individual output. It's about technical correctness. It's about handing in your reports on time. And that was great for that system because that system enabled the university to say that you have the potential to become an engineer. You're not one yet, graduated with a degree, but now all of the theory that you've been taught has to meet with practice. And that practice and theory together is going to make you into an experienced engineer, a professional engineer. I looked at one of the earlier presentations from Santiago Bacon. He did a really great presentation, and three things that he said in there I really took away. And his presentation mainly focused on this gap between university and industry. One of the things he said there's a big differentiator is that engineers that write can differentiate themselves, as only 2% normally do. So it's a nice tool to use to differentiate yourself. He also said that the standard is the minimum of the minimum. And so as a professional, he encouraged that you move further than just doing whatever the minimum standard is. And I think that is fantastic advice. And then the last piece that I took away from him, and I would strongly encourage you to take a look at his presentation. I don't do it justice here. He said in 17 years, the question is, do you have 17 years of different experiences, or do you have the same experience of 1 year 17 times? And as an engineering graduate, you should strive to build the right experience. So you're building that experience, building the right experience by moving from just doing work on your own, just solving the problem on your own, to creating impact or creating value with the problems that you solve. So in school, the problems are structured. In the field, they're messy. No matter what you've been set, there are impacts that are going to relate to other elements that you've not been told about. And that's normal. Early on in my career, I went through an experience feeling very, very frustrated by my silent inbox after I assumed that my project was as important to the company as it was to me. It was, after all, the company that gave me the project to do. But it wasn't until a mentor nudged me to ditch the digital wall and conduct in-person interviews that things actually moved. So sometimes you really need to go out there in the field, see what is happening, and speak to people who are in the situation to really move your project forward. And from that, I learned that you can't solve complex problems through an email thread. You really solve them through relationships. And very early on, I learned that you can't assume that everyone is aligned with your specific goals, because the reality is that alignment requires active engagement. And the lesson that I took away from it is, when emails fail, go into the field. Face-to-face interaction bridges the gap between academic theory and professional execution. So what does this transition from student to professional look like? It's moving from that individual brilliance to a broader behavioral flexibility. Moving from that internal mastery of the university, where you finish the task, you hand in the assignment, to in industry, you're not just it's not just about finishing the task. Finishing the task is important. Finishing the task on time, very important. Finishing the task and communicating the results, really, really important. But more than that, you have to own the result. So it's this task that you've completed is an input. And depending on the size of the organization that you work with, you will find that you have to interface with other departments based on the output that you've generated. It may needs to get approval from your finance team or from your marketing team, or the engineering team wants to do something different with it, or any number of other teams, the HR team, they want to do something different based on what you've done. You, as a professional, should own the fact that your result, and a mentor once told me that as an engineer, I'm being paid for my best technical evaluation, and reminded me that no one is paying me to take my technical evaluation. So your technical evaluation is but an input into other people's decisions. And you have to own the fact that it may need to be massaged with other information in order to get to a better result. We're moved from the university space of that mindset of, here's the problem, to bringing to your supervisor and your manager a solution to the problem. You never bring a problem without a potential solution. And you're moving from working on your own to understanding that you're really working with a number of stakeholders in order to provide a result. So how we do all of that? We've decided that, yes, we're gonna change our mindsets. How can we be effective? First thing we want to do is build our credibility back. And you will learn that trust isn't earned in a single spark of brilliance. It requires steady, reliable actions that stand the test of time. So the deposits that I'm going to ask you to make and to think about making are around punctuality, meeting deadlines, closing the loop, and keeping commitments. So this is all behavioral. None of this actually requires a degree. But as we build this trust by making deposits into this credibility bank and ensuring that we are not taking withdrawals out, because if we are taking out at the same time that we're putting in, then we are challenging the ability of our trust and our credibility to compound. So if we want small credibility, we could keep making withdrawals. And if we want to be really credible in the organization, we want to have those deposits earn some interest over time. So every commitment kept is a deposit. Every missed one is a withdrawal. And the challenge for new graduates is that often the focus is on impressing through output quality, while unknowingly making withdrawals through unreliability. So you may think that you're doing a great job. You may think that the information that you are putting out, the product that you're putting out, it's really, really good. but it's really, really important to make sure you're doing that within a context of trust that is being built and credibility that's being built by making the right kinds of deposits. And you will know if you're making these kinds of deposits because people will come and ask for you. They will ask your supervisor for you. They will ask you to join different teams. They will ask you to work on things that are not related to your work. That's a leading indicator of your performance and your credibility developing over time. So this slide, I wanted to take the time to talk about communication a bit, and particularly with one of your most important stakeholders, your supervisor, your manager. And this is just a reminder that in the real world, you're going to meet imperfect people. And this should not surprise you because you are one of them. It's no surprise to me. I'm also one of them. But it's important to remember that there's a whole range of management books and management advice, management courses out there, because the truth is there are more bad leaders than good in companies for a variety of reasons. And since this is not a deep leadership discussion, I'm not going to get into why that is. But you are likely to encounter at least one, perhaps two, perhaps more on your journey. So you need to be prepared. And whether your manager is good, bad, you need to embrace the opportunity and find the things that you can control and remain focused. Other people already know their quality. What is not clear is yours. So you will be surprised to know that whatever you think, observe, feel about your manager, other people in the organization already know. And I've put this graphic in to really challenge your thinking about how you think about the issues that are in front of you. Some things are in your circle of concerns. If you work for a particular organization, the organization is doing well or not, you should be concerned about that. You work on a particular team, and how the team performs is something that you can influence by your performance. But really, what you can control are the outputs that you produce and the way you show up day to day, the way you show up with your team, and the way you perform in your day to day. You can make or break your own career by the way you approach those things. So one way to treat with this communication is something called a system constraint reframe. You can forget about thinking about controlling your manager's personality, but you can optimize your output despite that constraint. If they are chaotic, you need to stay structured. If they are disorganized, you need to be organized. If they are all over the place, you need to bring a sense of calm to the team. Don't mirror the energy, because this is something that you can control and hopefully over time influence in terms of their behavior. The second is the executive summary mindset. Lead with the bottom line. A lot of times, particularly new people in terms of their communication, think about starting with a story and then somewhere at the end, they tell you what the answer is. I would encourage you to do it differently. Lead with the bottom line. State your conclusion or recommendation first, and then provide supporting detail. Most new graduates do this in reverse, because you think that it's a thesis that you're going to write, and you have a project that you're going to do, and you're going to take them down a whole long story. That in industry, People may not have the time or the inclination. And by giving them the answer, as it were, at the beginning, you give them the opportunity to decide how much time and effort to invest in what you have already done. And it will save both you and your manager time. And then the third item I want to encourage you in terms of the communication is the confirming email, closing that loop. So if you have a vague or an ambiguous conversation with your manager or even other people in the organization, follow it up in writing. This is not about getting people in trouble. This is how a professional conducts themselves. Professional conducts themselves in a way that clearly establishes and documents what was agreed. So, simple email. Based on our conversation, I'm proceeding with X by Y date. Please let me know if this differs from your understanding. This protects you, demonstrates professionalism, and quietly signals organizational maturity. So this is a practical talk. This is not university. This is about self-development. But to be effective, it needs action. And from you. So I'm giving you a 30-day professional challenge that you can move from theory into practice. Bring each week, take one of the tools that I've given and use those tools in your organization to really level up your performance. So the 4 behaviors, the solution first rule, which I just talked about it a couple of slides ago. Never bring a problem to your manager without at least one proposed solution or a next step recommendation. In week 2, we want to communicate your progress by using that status bridge. I want you to send a concise, bulleted Friday update to your lead. Don't wait for them to ask, what are you working on? In week 3, we want to try something like the stakeholder coffee. For those of you like myself who don't drink coffee, it may be a glass of juice or a glass of chocolate, but the intent is to really schedule a 15-minute chat with someone in a different department. Operations, finance, sales. Find out how your engineering work affects their day. That meeting that you take, that connection that you make, that networking that you do is actually going to make your job a whole lot easier later on when you call for information, when you need information to solve a problem, or when you need to engage with that person on another matter. It's really, really going to be helpful, broadening the number of people that you know in your organization. And week 4, I want you to try the feedback loop. Ask your manager, what is the one thing I could do differently to make your job easier? And just because this is a practical session, I want to tell you that you may have one of those managers that don't give you an answer. I would encourage you then to look for a mentor inside the organization or outside of the organization and ask them, what are the things that you should be doing in order to be more effective in your role. So that's it. That's the advice that I wanted to share. I want to close with the fact that the gap between a good engineer and a great professional is not technical. It's behavioral. And none of these habits require permission. They don't require a senior title or years of experience. And for those of you who want to take me up on the 30-day challenge, I've left a QR code on the slides that you can link to on LinkedIn. There's a PDF that has the notes from this presentation, and you can use that PDF to start your own 30-day challenge. So now I'm open for questions if there are any that you would like to pose to me. Yes, Afam. Afam, please go ahead. I'm not hearing you, so you may need to type in the chat. Let's see. Oh, how would you suggest going about seeking mentors in industry? Okay. Um, I would do the work of thinking about my career first, and then looking on LinkedIn and other platforms to see someone who has already gone through the path that I'm thinking about. And the beautiful thing about LinkedIn as a network, it tells you where people are 2 and 3 degrees removed from you. And I would use that to find an intermediary that's already connected to that person and have that person make an introduction to me. So Adiola, I hope that answers your question. In terms of, so say more about your question in terms of postgraduate relationships. Is this in terms of further schooling, or is this in terms of work? Okay. Um, I think that you would find it is not necessarily true that the people that you work with are going to be your friends. And this is a common mistake that people make. So the challenge is that if you don't have at work the kind of people that you want to develop with professionally or personally, I would encourage you to join an organization like the IEEE, join a non-governmental organization that is doing things that are in alignment with your career or the way that you think about impacting your world, remembering that as an engineer, you have a responsibility to give back to society. So find something that aligns with you. There will be people of like mind in that organization for sure, and use that to develop the relationships that you seek. Any other questions? Okay, this is a fairly tough one. Um, but for Daniel, what I would say is that there are a number of psychological profiles, some of which are available on the internet. The DISC profile comes to mind. Myers-Briggs has one. That speaks to the personality profiles of the different people on your team. And that might be an opportunity for the team to understand how other team members communicate, what are their strong points, what are their weak points, and use that to shape how the work is set out. So some people work really well in teams, some people like to work alone, and understanding those different profiles, understanding their different communication styles can really be helpful to the team going forward and ultimately help the team perform better. So that's been, I think I can take one more question, even though I think we're just about finished. Is a certificate required? Say more, Alex. is a certificate required to do a Myers-Briggs or a DISC certificate? These things, unlike in my time where there was no internet, you can go onto the internet and do a DISC, a basic DISC assessment practically for free. So it's not really a certificate that you get at the end, but really a report on what your particular preferences are. One book that I can recommend is Marshall Goldsmith's What Got You Here Won't Get You There. There's a lot of good information. Marshall Goldsmith has been a pretty good resource for me in terms of development for my own career, and I would encourage you to take a look at his work. But that book in particular, I would recommend. So again, thank you all. Muchas gracias, muito obrigado, danku, and merci. I think David already exited, so we're about to exit the chat. Thank you all for your time.